Hello and welcome back to 22 and Over. My name is Justin once again. Today we're doing a special video for the Marine Corps birthday, so I'd like to say happy birthday to any Marines like me, active duty or otherwise. Today we're doing a video on a Marine captured SKS from the Vietnam War. Now for a brief history on the SKS. The SKS was introduced by the Soviet Union and designed by Sergei Simonov, who had other designs attributed to him, such as the PTRS-41, which the SKS was actually based on. Now, the SKS saw some limited use at the very tail end of World War II, the last few months, and was actually shooting a cartridge known as 7.62x41 at the time. 7.62x41 was later slightly modified and reintroduced as 7.62x39, and the SKS saw mass production in the Soviet Union from 1949 to 1956, being both made at Tula and Ishevsk. This specific SKS is a Chinese Type 56 SKS. China produced the SKS from 1956 to 1994 at many different factories. Now, the specific factory that made this SKS was Triangle 26. They produced SKSs from 1956 to 1979. Now, a few little tidbits about Chinese SKSs that you guys may or may not know that are specific to this SKS as well is by serial number 9 million, China changed from the blade bayonet to the spiker bayonet, which you see here. And people also say that if you want to date your Chinese SKS, that you can just go from 1956, million serial number range, and guess. So if we use that, people would say this SKS was made in 1966 because the serial number is 10,105,526. But through further reading, I found out that this SKS was probably made in 1965. Now, when it comes to the Vietnam War and bring back SKSs from that war, you'll see Russian, Chinese, North Korean, even North Vietnamese and East German SKSs brought back from that war, and maybe others. Now, the Marine that brought this specific rifle home was an 0311, and he was active duty from August of 1969 to August of 1972. He had numerous awards for his time in Vietnam, including the Combat Action Ribbon, which we all covet. And as you can tell, he's a man after my own heart because at one time, according to this paperwork, he was a corporal. And according to other paperwork I've read, when he got out, he was a PFC. This Marine's name was Stephen Jones, and he arrived in Vietnam February 13th, 1970. Ooh, only in for 5 months and a day before Valentine's Day. That sucks. Anyways, he was in Vietnam from February 1970 to December 1970. The first part of his time in Vietnam, he spent with Echo 27 and participated in Operations Pickens Forest and Imperial Lake. After 7th Marine Regiment left Vietnam, he crossed deck over to Alpha 15 and participated in Operations Airborne Pacifier and once again in Imperial Lake. Now, when I believe he captured this rifle was on Operation Imperial Lake sometime between September 5th and September 12th of 1970 when he was still a part of Echo 27. During that time, Echo 27 kind of had their own We Were Soldiers moment and chased some guys into a cave system and got into a week-long firefight. Between September 5th and September 9th, they engaged the enemy in close quarters combat, and from September 9th through September 12th, they hit them with airstrikes. On September 12th, after the airstrikes were over with, they went back into the area, and notice that the area was pacified, meaning that all the enemy was either killed, sealed in caves, or withdrawn. And that's where I believe he captured this rifle. And why I believe that is I believe this rifle was probably underneath an NVA or VC that was killed in an airstrike. Now, what we're lucky to have here is the original capture documentation, including the DD Form 603, dated December 28th of 1970. If anybody knows Stephen Jones or knows any of his family or knows anybody that knows him back from his time in Vietnam, I would love to get in contact with him and hear the actual story of the capture of this rifle. Now, this rifle here exhibits some very terrible battlefield damage on the back end of the stock here. If we're going tip or butt to tip, if you will, you'll see what we believe to be burn marks and body rot. If you go farther up the stock here, heading towards the receiver, you'll notice that this section here is actually in pretty good shape. We don't know if there was a body or a piece of gear over it, protecting it from the elements or fire or what have you. We'll never know. If you go farther up the stock, you'll notice more battlefield damage, whether it be shrapnel damage, burn damage, body rot, combination thereof. If you go farther up the rifle again, you'll notice rust and pits. This rifle is not pretty, but it is what it is. Now you'll notice that the only part on this rifle looking nice and pretty and new is the bayonet, which is actually chrome plated. If we flip it over here, you'll see once again on the back end of the stock some pretty extensive battlefield damage, whether it be body rot, burn marks, or a combination thereof. I still can't believe that this sling swivel is still here, just barely holding on by a thread, I believe. You go farther up, you'll notice the serial number in full on the left side of the receiver here, and the factory 26 mark. Going further up the rifle, you'll once again notice more rust, more pits, but what can you expect on a rifle like this? Ready?
We're good.
In conclusion, here at 22 and Over, we're happy to bring you interesting historical firearms, modern firearms, talk about current events or anything else we do get involved in. And as you can see, we're starting this channel at our own little bar, just like the Marine Corps started at Ton Tavern. And if anybody would like to help the channel, like, comment, and subscribe, and we can defeat that algorithm together. Thank you.